The Atlanta Braves pitching got shelled and the offense didn't do anything as they lost game 2 to the Giants 9-0. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That's Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at Shortstop Ball. Make sure you're subscribing to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. And Jake, 9-0 loss to the Giants. And I don't know what's more frustrating, that you are 2/3 of the way through the season. This was game 100. And you are so out of starting pitchers that you have to give Davis Daniel this start and you see what he did. Or the fact that the offense that's looked pretty good since you came back from the All-Star break, gets shut out for, I believe, the 7th time this year. I don't know which one's more frustrating, but both of them are pretty bad.
Yeah, both of them are bad. We should probably be used to the offensive one by now. I mean, you don't expect Davis Daniel to go out there and give you 5-6 shutout innings. So him giving up 5 earned over 5 innings. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised he made it through 5 innings. And hey, let's be easy on our boy Davis Daniel here, War Eagle. But I mean, for me, it's the offense. And maybe I jinxed him, I don't know. But I got excited about what we've seen over the last week outside of the lazy Sunday afternoon games like we always have. The offense had been pretty good for a while. And this one just absolutely laid a dud and had a lot of opportunities, I think, is what also really hurts. 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. And you kind of hoped we were starting to get past this. And then here was just another one of those performances that we've seen far too much this year, where the offense has those opportunities, can get the big hits. And for this one, now you just don't have the pitching, and you got to overcome the pitching too. So bad all around. But I think for me, I wasn't expecting much out of Davis Daniels. So the more frustrating part is just the offense having those opportunities and not being able to score anything.
Yeah. One of the common criticisms of the Braves offense in recent seasons has been, it feels like they're trying to get home runs at all times. And like today, you finish with 8 hits. Only one is for extra bases, a leadoff double from Jurickson Profar, who, by the way, I don't even think advanced to third in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Never mind, come in to score. But it felt like Atlanta was really just trying to settle for good contact, trying to string together hits and things like that. Yes, they had hard hit balls. They always do. But they just weren't getting really anything to fall. And I'm thinking about Drake Baldwin's line out in the 5th inning. It's like 110 miles an hour. It's something like an expected batting average of 820, and it's an out. And it felt like they weren't necessarily trying to swing for the fences. They were just trying to keep the line moving, make decent contact. It didn't matter. They couldn't get anything done. And I'm just not used to seeing Ronald Acuna Jr. with the stat line like this. 0 for 4 and 3 strikeouts. It's happened a few times in the last couple weeks, but your best hitters were Matt Olson and Michael Harris.
Yeah, I mean, look, and Profar too got on base 3 times in this one. Had a walk, had a double, got hit.
By pitch, that's right.
So I mean, the guys at the top get on. I mean, unfortunately, look, I've said over the past couple of days, and I know you have too. I think Ronald's one of the best players, if not the best all-around player in baseball. It's a rough game for him. I mean, he came up a couple of times in big spots with runners on 1st and 2nd and couldn't do anything with it. And maybe he needs to go back to the leadoff spot. I don't know. You look at his numbers with runners in scoring position, and this just could be a loud, kind of small sample size. 207 this year, though, with runners in scoring position. Hasn't really come through. Too many strikeouts here as of late. Again, he is a great player. Don't get me wrong. But there have been a lot of strikeouts in his game here recently. It seems like it's been either a walk, a home run, or a strikeout here for him as of late. And he's too good of a player. He's too talented for that. You could see the frustration as he slammed his bat down and broke it after one of the at-bats tonight. He knows he's not completely locked in, which is just scary for the rest of the league with how good he's still been, even with that. But a rough game for him. I mean, you got to call it out. It wasn't a good game for him. really wasn't a great game for Baldwin. I know you mentioned the line out that he had, and he did draw a walk in this one, but also struck out twice. Ozzie, 1 for 4. Sean Murphy goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So it's really just the guys in kind of the middle of the order. You mentioned Michael Harris getting on base, Profar and Matt Olson getting on base, but just not enough up and down the lineup. It was really just 2 or 3 guys tonight that were able to do some things, and the rest of the team just wasn't able to pick them up. But in particular, that Acuna, Baldwin, Ozzie Albies, Murphy combo that had been so good really just didn't come through in this game.
Yeah, going into the game, I was a little frustrated that Ozzie was bumped ahead of Sean Murphy. Kind of felt like they should have hit Murphy right behind Baldwin. That pairing of those two together has worked really well. I think both of Ozzie's homers, 3-run homers that he had over the weekend, those two guys were on base ahead of him and scored both times. And obviously, end of the day, it didn't matter which order they were in because Ozzie had 1 hit. He had a single. Murphy didn't do anything there. But just like you said, we've seen this too many times. And we've talked about this a million times. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. They've got to be better. And that's all we can really say about it is it's not like they were facing exceptional stuff. It's not like they were facing, a Cy Young candidate who can do a ton of stuff. Landon Rupp is not a bad pitcher, right? His ERA is in the low 3s. I would argue he's a good pitcher this year. 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts in 5 innings is bad. And again, I don't know what you do. These are the same guys you're going to have. And you saw individual performances. You pointed out Jurickson Profar getting on 3 times. Ronald did have a good outfield assist from to second base to get a catcher running. Maybe if you're a catcher, don't try to take an extra base on Ronald Acuna Jr. Read a scouting report. But just overall, 12 men left on base, 0 for 10 runners scored in position. It's just not a very clutch team, it feels like. And I know clutchness is not an actual stat, but it just feels like Atlanta was not ever able to get anything going tonight, and that's just disappointing.
Yeah, and like I said, it felt like they had turned a corner in that too. Like it has been a problem, and like you said, I think sometimes that just fluctuates over 162.
Yeah.
But I think it had gotten to the point this season where it's in the players' heads. You can see them in those spots, and they know they're not coming through, and maybe trying to do a little bit too much. And you kind of thought you gotten over that. They showed a graphic during the game of how good they've been in the month of July with runners in scoring position, one of the best in baseball. So just really unfortunate. Hopefully it's just a little blip for this offense, but that's 2 blips in the last 3 games now. You had the Sunday performance and now this one with a good one mixed in. And that's really kind of been the problem all season for this team is they just can't consistently put it together, with a 6-7 game stretch in a row where they're just hitting on all facets. And that's especially going to be hard now with the injuries that you have in the rotation. It's going to be hard to find a good night, there's the starters, the bullpen, and the offense. It's going to be really tough to put that all together. One thing that always does come, though, is that defense. The defense is just fantastic.
Yeah, they continue to pick it, whether it's first base, third base. Nacho Alvarez has not hit very well. He's looked very good defensively. That error notwithstanding he had on, I think it was last night. But you mentioned the rotation. Just a second. Let's talk about Davis Daniel. Let's talk about the pitching. Wander Suero. The baseball's best 2-way player, Luke Williams. We'll do all of that next right here on the Braves Postcast. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting because you're already following the action. You're already depressed about the state of the pitching. Why not make it a little more financially fruitful? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. I mean, it's easy to use, it's fast to pay out, and it makes even a regular season game that you're not looking forward to watching at least something that can hopefully make you a little bit of money. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, so we mentioned Davis Daniel. Again, this is 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 4 walks to 3 strikeouts. He only gets got by a homer once. And I'm not sure, kind of looking at some of the numbers that came in from this. He only had 5 whiffs in the game. 2 off a sweeper, 2 off a splitter, 1 off the 4-seam fastball. He also, if I remember right, gave up the home run on a sweeper that he left in the middle of the plate. So the stuff, he wasn't getting a lot of whiffs, but he also wasn't having great locations. Kind of feels like you're going to struggle if you can't do either one of those things as a pitcher.
Yeah, look, it's the same thing we talk about with Bryce Elder too, right? It's a guy that doesn't have overpowering stuff and relies on having really good command of his pitches. And Davis Daniel, especially that second and third inning, just had hardly any command of his pitches, wasn't able to locate anything. You saw that with the walks, but then also when he came to the zone, it seemed like everything was middle, including that ball to Casey Schmidt, which I still haven't seen it land. I don't know where it landed, but it went a long way. So impressive stuff there from him. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's a pitcher, that has to be able to locate this fastball and set up his other pitches, that splitter that's been really good for him, that the Braves have had him focusing on a lot. But you can't throw that pitch if you can't set it up with good command on that fastball, which has good induced vertical break on it. So you want to try to locate that well at the top of the zone and throw the splitter off of it and the sweeper, down and away off of it. But just never really could set any of that up because he couldn't command anything in the strike zone.
Yeah, so you're telling me he has a splitter he couldn't really use enough because he couldn't get the fastball in the zone enough. This is going to be a joke for all the prospect people out there. Do we know that this wasn't just Hurston Waldrop in a mask? Do we know this wasn't him out there? Yeah, it felt like he did have to come into the zone way too much with the sweeper and with the slider, just trying to reestablish himself because he would get behind early. And even some of the walks he got, 5-pitch walk, but the strike wasn't really close enough, and they gave him the strike call anyway, almost out of pity. So absolutely frustrating. The one thing I think I am surprised by after a couple outings now, Wander Suero was working as the closer in Gwinnett for a while and looked pretty good in AAA. He's allowed 6 earned runs in 5 innings with, 5 strikeouts, but 2 walks. It's just been, I don't know why I maybe necessarily thought he was going to be a little bit more reliable than he's been. All in all, I mean, yeah, it's great. You get to avoid using some of the biggest names. You throw Pierce Johnson for an inning. Luke Williams does get an inning, brings his ERA down to 4.50. Absolutely love that. But just, I'm really struggling to find the positives in this game other than Profar gets on 3 times, although he paid for a lot of those. Harris gets on twice, and Ronald has an outfield assist. I really can't think of many other positives out of this game. Like, can you? Am I just missing something here?
No, there's not many. I mean, this is, again, this second half year, like I've talked about on the podcast, I'm kind of future focused. I'm looking at things that I can take away as positives for, 2026 and beyond. And there's just really not any of that in this. Other than Michael Harris, I mean, he had some loud contact the other night, got out. So this time, he does have some loud contact and gets rewarded for it. Hits the pitcher with one of those line drives. So that's good to see him making solid contact. But outside of that, I don't really know. There's nothing on the pitching side that stands out. Obviously, Davis Daniel, Suero, Pierce Johnson, I guess.
Put some respect on Luke Williams' name. Scoreless 9th inning.
Probably should be getting some more high leverage situations. But yeah, not a lot of positives in this one, other than, like you said, Profar and Olsen getting on base, Michael Harris still getting some hard contacts, and Acuna still giving us something to get excited about in the field, even if it wasn't his best night at the plate. But hard to really find too much to get excited about in a 9-0 loss like this.
There we go. Okay, so series finale tomorrow, and this is going to be interesting. Like, everybody's heard the saying about the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. This is the stoppable force versus the movable object. Justin Verlander does not have a win on the year, okay? The Braves have lost 8 of their last 10 rubber matches going back to Pittsburgh in May, including the last 5 they've all, at home, they've all lost. So this feels like Justin Verlander's due for his first win of the year, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. Spencer Strider's on the mound for the Braves. You have to feel a little bit better about the pitching in this situation, obviously, having Strider out there as your starter. But Justin Verlander, Spencer Strider, if nothing else, it's going to be a fastball show. But do you have any, after what we saw tonight, Is it just reactionary to say that Atlanta's probably losing this series, or do you think there's a little bit of hope there just based on the recent post-All-Star game performance by the Braves offense, excluding Sunday and tonight?
Yeah, if you take out the fact that it's an early morning day game, rubber game, which just seems like the perfect storm for the Braves offense to just completely go non-existent.
Yeah,
I feel pretty good about the pitching matchup. Strider's been really good as of late. He's generally giving 6 innings and a quality start in there. Verlander, as you said, hasn't won this year. So, I mean, on paper, I feel like this is a game the Braves probably should win, but all of those extenuating circumstances, like we talked about, have shown I just don't have a lot of confidence that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah. That game's at 12:15 Eastern, a little bit earlier than the usual getaway day games. So just heads up on that for everybody. Jake and I will be back with a postcast tomorrow. Do us a favor in the meantime. If you're listening on audio, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. I don't want to speak for Jake, but my love language is words of affirmation. So some nice comments on the review would be great. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to both Locked On Braves and Locked On Sports Atlanta. Over on the Atlanta side, training camp starts soon for the NFL. A lot of Falcons talk over there. They're talking about what the Hawks did. And then obviously Jake is here every single day, even sometimes on Saturdays, breaking down your Atlanta Braves and the amazing things that Ronald Acuna Jr. does. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.